The rain pounded on the rusted roof of Mama Abina's small hut as she stood barefoot in the mud, staring at the coffin lowered into the earth. Her fingers trembled, not because of the cold, but because the man in that coffin, the man everyone thought she still loved, was her ex-husband. And the worst part? The young beauty he left her for was clinging to another man's arm, smiling, as the body of the man she destroyed was buried. But this was not the day Mama Abina's story began. No. The fire that burned in her heart had started long before this funeral, and the world would soon learn. You don't push a lioness into the dust and expect her to stay there. Abina had been the pride of Nkumfi village. Tall, graceful, skin as smooth as freshly roasted cocoa, and eyes that seemed to hold both kindness and wisdom. For 12 years she had stood by her husband, Kojo Mensah, through thick and thin. They had built a life together. He worked in the city as a merchant, while she managed their farm and cared for their 2 children. Their love had survived hunger seasons, illness, and even the loss of their first baby. But all that changed the day Kojo came home with a strange, honey-sweet scent clinging to his clothes. At first, Abina ignored it. City perfumes, she told herself. Then came the late-night meetings, the unanswered letters, the way his eyes no longer lingered on her when she wore her best wrapper. And then, the thunderbolt. Kojo stood in their courtyard one hot afternoon, his words as sharp as a machete. Abina, I am leaving you. I have found someone younger, fresher. You will not understand. The younger woman's name was Efua, barely 21, with skin like polished ebony and the arrogance of someone who believed youth was eternal. Kojo married her within weeks, leaving Abina with the children and a crumbling house. Life after Kojo was a battlefield. With no steady income, Abina took to selling roasted plantains by the roadside. The villagers whispered when she passed. Some pitied her. Others mocked her. The women clucked their tongues, saying, "She was too quiet. That's why Kojo got bored." Some days, she barely earned enough to buy maize for the children. Other days, the rain would soak her plantains before she sold a single one. But Abina was a lioness. She told herself she would not break. One evening, as she closed her stall, she overheard 2 men talking near the Palm Wine Bar. Kojo is drowning in debt, one said. Efua is not as faithful as he thinks, the other chuckled. Abina's heart tightened. She had no intention of interfering, but deep inside something whispered, patience. The gods always see. Kojo's life with Efua was nothing like he imagined. The girl loved fine clothes, city trips, and men who promised her more than he could give. Within 2 years, Kojo had sold half his land to fund her desires. The debts piled high. Efua began disappearing for days, returning with the scent of another man's cologne. One night, Kojo found a note on their bed. "Don't look for me. You are a poor man now, Efua." She had run away with a wealthy cocoa exporter from Accra. The once proud Kojo was left alone in a rented room, sick, broke, and humiliated. It was on a Thursday evening, just as Abina was serving supper to her children, that she heard a knock on her door. She opened it, and there stood Kojo. His clothes were faded, his eyes sunken. He held his cap in both hands like a beggar. "Abina, I have nowhere to go. Please, forgive me. Take me back." For a moment, Abina's heart wavered. She saw the man she had once loved, the father of her children. But then she remembered the nights she had cried alone, the laughter of villagers when he left her, the way he had looked at Efua as if Abina had never existed. Her voice was calm, but her words cut deep. "Kojo Mensah, when you left, I died 1,000 deaths, but the gods gave me new life. This house has no space for a man who buried his wife while she was still breathing. Go." She closed the door. Abina's strength did not go unnoticed. An old cocoa farmer, Nana Kwesi, had been watching her for months, impressed by her resilience. One day, he offered her a partnership. "You are strong, Abina. I need someone like you to manage my farm. We share the profits." Within a year, her life transformed. She moved from the small mud hut into a solid brick house. Her children attended the best school in the district. She became one of the most respected women in Nkumfi. Kojo, meanwhile, wandered from job to job, growing weaker by the day. 3 years after Kojo had left her, word spread through the village. Kojo Mensah is dead. He had collapsed while carrying sacks of cocoa for a meager wage. At the funeral, the village gathered. Efua returned, but not in mourning clothes. She wore bright colors, laughing on the arm of another man. Abina stood at the edge, her wrapper tied firmly, her head held high. The chief's wife whispered, "Are you not going to cry for him?" Abina's gaze was steady. "I cried all my tears when he was alive." She placed a single white lily on the coffin and walked away. Months later, Abina was honored at the annual Cocoa Festival as Woman of the Year for her contributions to the farming community. As she stood on the stage, the drums echoing in the air, she looked at her children in the front row, strong, healthy, and proud. She had lost a husband, but gained something far greater, her dignity, her strength, and her freedom. And deep inside, she knew Kojo's betrayal had been the god's way of setting her on the path to true greatness. Final line. Sometimes, the storm you think will destroy you is the one that washes you clean.